Welcome to Cinema Chop Shop. Watch, chop, retrofit.
What do you call a book club that's been stuck in the same book for years?
I don't know. Church. Oh!
Did you hear about the zoo that was just a dog? Yeah, it was a shih tzu. I used to hate facial hair, but then it grew on me.
Oh, that's dead. That's a total dead.
What do you call a dog that can do magic?
A magical dog.
A labracadabrador.
Yeah.
I told people about the benefits of eating dried grapes. It's all about raising awareness. But this isn't a dad joke podcast, but it kind of is. It's Cinema Chop Shop. It's a movie podcast where we gather and talk about movies and the things that we like. And this week is a special Father's Day episode. We're doing Like Father, Like Son. Now, of course, we could have done Like Father, Like Daughter as well, but it just happened to sound better with the turn of phrase. We're going to talk about fathers and their sons who also have acting careers and may or may not have acted together in a film or two. I'm your host, Shawn, and I've got with me today Joey Poole.
Good evening. Good evening.
I've got Todd.
Howdy.
Travis is not here. He is trying to make his way back from Bonnaroo, which was rained out. But you may hear some jangling of some collar noises. But we've got Max, his dog, is here to show support for Travis's absence.
For the listeners at home, when Shawn just said Max's name, he ran over expectantly and looked up at him. Or
He's a
maybe
very good boy.
Were you reacting to Max or to Travis?
He's a smart boy. He's a schnauzer, and he's a good dog. Travis will be the first to tell you. All right, so fathers and sons. I've just gathered a few that I think that would be worthy of mentioning, and Todd's getting a full face full of
Getting the
masks
business
there.
over here.
All right, so fathers and sons. Martin Sheen, of course, with Charlie Sheen and Emilio Estevez.
I've often wondered if there was family tension behind the scenes with Emilio because he chose to use their real last name.
Yeah, I don't know. That's worth looking into. I because Joe Estevez is Martin Sheen's brother. Mm-hmm. And so he retained the Estevez as well. So I don't know what the story is there. Just
I wonder if it was just to get away. I mean, he was trying to be his own man as an actor and maybe, use the real name.
Walter Houston, John Houston, Danny Houston. That's a little trio. Danny is the youngest, of course, and he was in like a American Horror Story, like a season or two. Mm-hmm. He's been in other things as well. James Brolin, Josh Brolin.
Oh, yeah.
John Carradine.
I'd never made the James and Josh Brolin connection before.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. David Carradine, Keith Carradine, and Robert Carradine, all, of course, sons of John Carradine. James Caan and Scott Caan. Tom Hanks and Colin Hanks. Henry Fonda, Peter Fonda. Gary Busey and Jake Busey. That always makes me laugh. Carl Reiner and Rob Reiner, both actor-directors.
Yeah.
Stellan Skarsgård and his brood of children, Alexander, Gustav, and Bill Skarsgård.
There's a third one, Gustav. Oh, wow.
Uh-huh. And then, of course, Donald Sutherland and Kiefer Sutherland. Yep. So those are just a few.
We could have gone way back in cinematic history and done the Lons, Chaney Sr. and Jr. Yeah. Would have been interesting. But yeah.
So I guess it's one of those things where if you're kind of born into that community, it is a shorter path to stardom or at least getting work.
Yep.
If your father or mother are in the biz.
Well, now Patrick Schwarzenegger is starting to get a little bit of heat. Arnold's.
Oh, yeah, after
Arnold's
White Lotus.
Son, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we see these happen all the time where these people crop up. And, I think it just has to do with how close their orbit is to where the action is, as well as having talent or lack of, in some cases, might be. So, we're going to go through some films and tandems that we've all picked out, but we're going to start with the fathers first, and I'm going to let Joey kick us off.
Well, I chose Lloyd Bridges and his progeny, Jeff and Beau Bridges, and I kind of used this as an opportunity to check off a movie that I probably should have seen by now but haven't, and I don't think I actually realized that Lloyd Bridges was in High Noon until I was looking him up to see what I could watch, and this is one of those kind of quintessential westerns that, kind of a high-profile western, I would say, that I just had never seen before. 1952, directed by Fred Zinnemann, who also did The Jackal and probably most famous for From Here to Eternity.
Oh, okay.
Got Gary Cooper, kind of an older Gary Cooper. I guess he would have been in his, 50s, maybe bumping 60 by now, as Marshal Will Kane. Grace Kelly as his brand new bride, Amy. And you got Lloyd Bridges as Harvey Pell, who's sort of a wannabe Marshal type, which we'll get into in just a minute. So you got Marshal Will Kane, that's Gary Cooper. He's just married his young blushing bride, Amy, as the movie begins. She's a pacifist Quaker. And he's sworn to put down his badge now that he's married. Word comes that Frank Miller, who is a notorious bandit, an outlaw who our marshal put away some years ago, has been released and is on a train bound for town at high noon. And his brother, played by Lee Van Cleef, and a couple of other ne'er-do-well gang members are going to meet him there to kind of take down his old nemesis. His wife pleads with Will Kane to get out of town, just won't run away from it, but he ain't no bitch, so he's going to stay. She says she's going to leave on that same train that's dropping them off and gets prepared to go out of town. So he tries to assemble a posse, right? And most of the movie is him trying to assemble a posse. And, this kind of plays against the trope that, we talked about this a few episodes ago. There's a real trope in movies where there's a whole scene. Sometimes it's a montage. Sometimes it's
they get the posse together,
or putting the team together. And a lot of the movie is.
And there's usually a nice, upbeat action style theme while they're getting the team together.
Yeah, and in this one, the bulk of the movie, the middle third of the movie at least, is him trying to put a team together, and it just does not work. Nobody wants to join him. Some of them are just cowardly. The judge is just packing his office up and is like, I'm getting out of here. I'm taking the next horse out of town. I advise you to do the same. Some of the men's wives won't let them do it. Some of them are just playing, they're just playing cowardly. They get peer pressured and not doing it for whatever.
Some henpecked.
And then you got Lloyd Bridges as Harvey Pell. And he's kind of a younger, kind of wannabe marshal type. He's involved in law enforcement, but he hadn't made it to marshal yet. And he really has a hard-on for being the next marshal, and he's trying to pressure Marshal Kane into naming him as a successor. And Kane says he's just not ready. He's too young. And also they have kind of a romantic rivalry as well over the sexy, sultry Helen Ramirez, who is Gary Cooper's character's ex-girlfriend or whatever, and now is dating Kane. But Amy prepares to leave town with them, and as you might expect, I won't give too much away, but this kind of all comes to a climax at high noon when Will Kane has to take on the bad guys basically all alone, except for his wife, who decides at the last minute to get off the train and help him. And I won't give too much away. This is a very, very good Western. If you haven't seen it, I do urge you to see it. Have y'all seen the movie?
I think so, yeah. A lot of the elements are recognizable for me, so I'm pretty sure I have. When you said the pacifist wife, that triggered something in my memory.
There were a few scenes here that I would like to go back and look at the chronology of this, but there are a few scenes here where I thought, wow, they really played off of that in this other Western. And then I'm like, are these just the three guys walking down the deserted main street, that kind of shot. And I'm like, maybe, or is that just in every Western of this time, So that was kind of interesting to me. But this is the kind of movie to me that gets more interesting when you learn a little bit about the backstory. I would never have picked up on this had I not known, but apparently this was conceived as an allegory about the Red Scare and McCarthyism and all the blackballing and things going on in Hollywood. As such, I think it's kind of the missing link between those early Westerns and the more morally ambiguous ones to come. And apparently that would have been lost, I think, on most of its audience at the time, but apparently it was not lost on other Hollywood types and peers in the movie industry, because allegedly John Wayne said that this was the most un-American film he could imagine.
That tracks.
So if that's the case, then that bumps it up a little bit in my regard, because fuck John Wayne and this nationalistic bullshit that he stands for. So it's a solid Western taken at face value. It's actually a very good one. But again, I think kind of becomes more interesting when you think about that angle as well. As far as the man of the hour and Lloyd Bridges, he's pretty good in this one. I knew him. We were talking about this before the podcast. I knew him as the elderly slapstick guy from like Airplane and Airplane 2. That's what, in my mind, that's where I thought of him. But he had this whole other career in all these movies. You were talking about the range he has, playing a villain in
Come and Get Me. It's an old film noir where he's like the mentor, a criminal mentor to the main character, and he's just despicable, just horrible. But he's been in plenty of films where he plays the good guy, the bad guy, and yeah, you mentioned the range. We have him cemented in our brains because of the ages that we are, as the goofy guy from Airplane, which arguably could be his most famous role, but just because of how old we were when we saw it, he's
hilarious in those movies.
That was Lloyd Bridges for us.
Yeah, in this one he's much younger, obviously, but he kind of has this he's like Jimmy Stewart light, this kind of all shucks sort of Midwestern all American thing, and he plays a very green, young, eager lawman basically, and gets his ass just beat by Gary Cooper as part of the movie as well. So good one. Check it out if you haven't seen it.
Very good. Todd, you're up.
All right. So my choice for the father and son duo are Kirk and Michael Douglas, both Academy Award winning actors. Kirk, the elder, for the film Champion in 1949. He won Best Actor for that movie. This movie that I'm going to talk about, though, came out 2 years later, called Ace in the Hole, directed by one of the Hollywood greats, Billy Wilder, who would eventually do Sunset Boulevard, Some Like It Hot, among his classics. Yeah. And this was actually the first film that he produced, wrote, and directed. When it initially came out, it was a box office failure, didn't get good critical notices, but it has since come to be recognized as one of Wilder's best films. And Kirk Douglas is fantastic in this. Kirk Douglas is sort of a down-on-his-luck journalist. It's implied that he's been really good at his job, but for a variety of reasons, he has been kicked out of his previous spots. In one case, he started an affair with the wife of the newspaper owner. In another case, he was brought a lawsuit upon the newspaper that he worked for. And so now he's in Arizona, a little podunk town in Arizona, trying to get on with the paper there. He's desperate to get his name back, build it back up. He's upfront about this with the man that runs the newspaper. He's, basically offering his services for chicken feed in exchange for his chance to try and reestablish his name. Douglas takes over this Arizona or starts working with this Arizona paper. He's being sent to these sort of dog and pony show type gigs. He's been there for about a year. He's about to lose his mind.
Are you getting humped?
Yeah.
I think the Max over here is trying to create some sire with my
either that or he's trying to establish dominance
with my leg. Yeah. Yeah.
It's okay.
In any case,
we all have
he's
feelings
crying
like
to me
that
now.
sometimes. Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
I wouldn't let him make love to my legs. Sorry, Max.
Sorry, buddy. Got rejected. Happens to the best of us.
Yeah. Anyway, Kirk Douglas plays essentially this cynical character who, as we learn as the movie progresses, is he's willing to go to any lengths to create a story that will get him back into the big time. So he's sent to this story out of town that's supposed to be like a snake handling thing. Not a religious snake handling thing, just to see, people that handle snakes, essentially. So it's going to be another
show. Yeah.
Yep. And this young buck is sent with him who's going to be the photographer, who turns out to be sort of his, guy that he's grooming a bit. While they're there, just by happenstance, it turns out that a guy has gotten trapped in a cave. He has gone into this old Indian cave where they would, bury their dead and basically as a treasure hunt. He's trying to get items out of the mountain, that he thinks will be valuable. But he gets trapped in there. His name's Lou. And there's a very catchy song that's developed for Lou later in the movie. But this is Kirk Douglas's character. It's his opportunity. This is his chance to get his name back into the big time. Now he does some very nefarious things in order to bring this about, because it is implied that they could very easily get this man out in about a day or so. But he's like, nah, let's stretch this out a bit. And so he finds ways. He starts working the people in the town. The sheriff of the town turns out to be kind of a guy who can be bought. And so he works out a deal with the sheriff where he's going to make him look good in the articles that he writes and sends around. The guy that is in charge of going into the mine to get him, he sort of woos him as well. And even though that guy knows better and knows that there's a more efficient way to get this guy out, he agrees to use this drill method that's going to take a few days longer. Fast forward a few days, he has Kirk Douglas's character has kind of ratcheted things up. There's a literal carnival going on. There are rides. People are there to check in on this. He's turned this one guy being trapped in this
It's like tragedy
mine into just a big show, a big carnival. In fact, one of the names the movie is known by is The Big Carnival. There's a song written about Lou that is turned into this little... it starts out as a folk song, and then it turns into this sort of carnivalesque number. Lou has, the guy trapped in the cave, has a faithless wife who is ready to leave him immediately. The interesting thing, though, about that is that Kirk Douglas doesn't want to have anything to do with her the whole movie. She keeps trying to get up, attach herself to him, and he's not having it. He slaps her around at one point when she's not, acting like he's writing about her as if she's the aggrieved wife, and he wants her to play the part. When she won't do that, he gives her a couple of smacks to, get that out of her. But he's not having it. So from that, you kind of see that he does have a little bit of morality to him, that he's not willing to go. You kind of see that here and there. The young kid that's there, and this is almost a father-son relationship that develops, but the young buck who's there doing the photography, he's trying to teach him lessons about how to get ahead. These lessons, of course, are tricks of the trade and not how to be a legitimate journalist. And the kid's buying it. He's going along with it. He falls in line with everything. So everything's working out as he plans, but eventually, though, we start to see things start to collapse a bit. He starts drinking. He starts feeling guilty about things. The mother keeps popping up of the guy, Lou, who is very upset, as you would imagine. You can see on his face he starts feeling guilty about this. He feels guilty about the direction he's leading the kid in, who's going to be the photographer. Again, he starts drinking heavily. And then eventually things come to a head when it turns out that Lou develops pneumonia. And now they've got to get him out quickly or he's going to die. Well, do they get him out? No. In this Billy Wilder tale, we do not have a happy ending where they get the guy out in time. He, in fact, dies. This leads to Kirk Douglas's character reforming. He makes a big speech to tell everyone, go home, stop partying. He's dead now. The faithless wife ends up stabbing him in a...
Good for her.
Yep. They get into a little tussle. The husband gives her a mink scarf that he wants her to wear, and she doesn't want to wear it. And so Kirk Douglas starts strangling her with it, and she stabs him with some scissors. So pretty dramatic scene. But in any case, he eventually succumbs to his injuries in a very memorable scene, where the last scene he collapses, and the way that he collapses was clearly planned in advance. His dead open eyes are right in the camera, and then the movie ends. So that is Ace in the Hole. It's obviously sort of a tale of the American dream gone wrong, and a great performance from Kirk Douglas, who plays a very cynical character, but who does have a little bit of heart to him, and gets his dude just desserts in the end. So in any case, one of the underrated Billy Wilder films. Really good stuff. Great stuff.
Awesome.
He, by the way, he lived to the ripe old age of 103. He just
sure did.
died in 2020.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Longevity. All right, so my pairing is Jose Ferrer and his son Miguel Ferrer. Jose, a Puerto Rican actor of stage and film, he passed away in 1992. He lived from 1912 to 1992. You would know him from Joan of Arc. He played Charles VIII. He was Toulouse-Lautrec in the original Moulin Rouge movie. He was Barney in the Caine Mutiny, which is probably my first exposure to him on I think it was our naval movies episode. He was in I Accuse. He had a role in Lawrence of Arabia. He was Emperor Shaddam in David Lynch's Dune. So, good career.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But today I'm talking about his role in the 1950 film Cyrano de Bergerac, where he won the Oscar for this, but he had also previously won the Tony Award for it as well for a stage play. Directed by Michael Gordon, starring Jose Ferrer, Mala Powers, William Prince, and Ralph Clanton. Poet, romantic, and sword fighter Cyrano de Bergerac loves the beautiful Roxanne, and although he is proud enough of his bulbous proboscis, he regularly duels those who dare mock it. He fears she could never love a man with such an enormous nose. When he learns that she loves the handsome...
You know what they say about guys with big noses?
I know, right? Exactly. I'll get to that in a second, too. When he learns that she loves the handsome guardsman Christian, Cyrano provides the tongue-tied young man with the words of love and devotion he wishes he could say to Roxanne himself. Familiar storyline, familiar to me at least, from the Steve Martin movie Roxanne, which was clearly based on Cyrano. However, the dialogue in the 1950 Cyrano makes Roxanne look like it was delivered by Cro-Magnons. This is the wittiest, quippiest dialogue that you can have. You are bombarded with witticism after witticism from Jose Ferrer right from the get-go. And if you like wordplay, this is an engaging film. It's really fun. He's super smart, and he knows how to undress people with words, which is really cool. The film itself, it kind of drags a bit after the plot device, of course, of him using Christian to say the words that he's always wanted to say to Roxanne, which I did not know. He's actually related to her, like a distant cousin kind of thing. But I guess we're...
very Shakespearean.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was okay. It was distant enough for it to be approachable.
I mean, you can get with your second cousin in South Carolina.
Sure,
so,
of course. Once that is established, then the movie kind of hits like a drag point, because there's a war, the Civil War. Oh, no, it's not Civil War. I'm sorry. It's a Spanish-French War that's happening, and then Cyrano ends up getting wounded, and that's where he has to convalesce, at which point that's where Roxanne's kind of looking after him, and Christian's perished in the battle. And she kind of puts two and two together, that it was Cyrano all along who was saying these things, and she realizes that she truly does love him, and then, of course, he dies, so it was all for naught. But, great movie if you like wordplay. If you like good line delivery, it's worth it to watch it just for that alone. And, of course, the story of Cyrano has been remade several times. I think Peter Dinklage did a version of it where instead of having the proboscis, it was based on his diminutive size. Isn't
there like a Gerard Depardieu one?
Yeah, there is a Gerard Depardieu one, as a matter of fact. And speaking of the theme of the episode, Gerard Depardieu has a son who is also an actor, but I didn't really want to mention it because I don't like him. Cyrano is pretty fun. I would say check it out if you've never seen it, because it was one of those movies where it's like by osmosis you kind of know the story.
Yeah.
But if you haven't checked it out, it's worth a watch just because of how good Jose Ferrer is in that role, and his sheer confidence and witticisms are just
the definitive
dynamite.
version of the movie, you think?
I think so, yeah. It's really good. So that's our first half, folks. We're going to go take a break because we're going to come back with the Sons and the back half of these duos. But not before we say, let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby and get ourselves some.
Sugar Daddy Milk Caramel Pops.
The full name.
Yes.
Yum, yum. It's time for a tasty and refreshing snack. We promise to satisfy your hunger, your thirst, your sweet tooth. So visit our refreshment center now. Let's go.
And we're back. We peed in the yard, and we got little Max all packed up to go back to his house now that his family is home. What do we like to do, Joey, sometimes?
Well, Shawn, we like to drink beer, and we like to talk about drinking beer.
Okay, well, then I've got a kind of an on-theme beer, at least if you lived the childhood I did. It's from Industrial Arts Brewing out of New York. It's called Wrench.
Nice.
Like, hand me that wrench.
Yeah. That
Of course,
works.
If you were like me, I was the official flashlight holder, and I was never, ever pointing it in the right place.
My dad's a welder, so for me, the equivalent is, get me the acetylene torch. And like, oh, fuck, is that the blue one or the red blue tank or the red tank?
Yeah.
God damn it, no, not the oxygen, not the argon, the goddamn acetylene. And I'm like, fuck, blue one. Of
Nothing
course.
makes you feel like an inferior moron than letting your father down when he needs you to help out.
I try really hard not to do that with my own son, and my dad's great. I don't want to talk too much shit about my dad, but
I absolutely.
I find myself doing it. It's just a default, and usually y'all know what life is like, so I don't have to get into that. But
I'm getting a distinctly lemony flavor off this.
A little tart for my taste.
I quite like it, honestly.
It's fine. I mean, it's fine. It's a little
I
tart.
get the feeling it'll be here for a few weeks, so you can tap that well again there, Joey.
It tastes like I had a 6-pack of. I got a 6-pack of something. It was the Sam Adams pork striker, just because it was on sale, and it's so lemony. It tastes like someone poured lemonade into a beer, like a. There's a word for that. Is it a shandy?
The shandy, yeah.
Yeah. This one's a little more subtle.
Okay.
I have a burial IPA called Until There Is No Longer, which could be about a deadbeat dad, theoretically. It's pretty tasty if any of you gents want to try it at a moment.
I think I've had it before, but that's, I like the stretch there. All right, so continuing with our theme, we're going to be talking about the Suns, and Joey, it's back to you.
Well, I chose a movie called The Fabulous Baker Boys. This is one that I've been aware of for quite some time. The scene, which I'd seen somewhere with Michelle Pfeiffer in a red dress, kind of climbing all over the top of a piano, was kind of etched into my memory. I'd never seen the movie. It's directed by Steve Kloves in 1989. He has a very small filmography, and the only other movie that I saw on there is one I'd never heard of, which I think was a short maybe. And then he did the Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, that movie. Do you know that movie? I haven't seen the movie. I've read the book.
I'm familiar with the book.
The Fabulous Baker Boys stars Jeff Bridges and Bo Bridges, the progeny of Lloyd Bridges in my first act, as Jack and Frank Baker, and they are a tag team piano duo with sort of a schmaltzy, very outdated cocktail lounge act. And they decide to spiff things up a little bit by hiring a girl singer. And they audition a bunch of folks, and Michelle Pfeiffer as Susie Diamond gets the gig.
What a name.
Susie Diamond. This is a movie this is one of those movies that I kind of low-key love it, even though I acknowledge that there are problems and kind of flaws with it, and objectively it's probably not that good, but it just strikes such a chord with me. And like anything about like working class artists doing what they do just because they love it kind of strikes a chord with me for obvious reasons. And this happens anytime that I have a blood alcohol content of over 0.02 or something, and Sultans of Swing comes on.
Oh, dude,
I get fucking weepy because Harry doesn't mind if he doesn't make the scene. He's got a daytime job. He's just doing all right.
Yeah,
But he can play the honky tonk like anything, saving it up for that. I'm getting weepy just saying it. That's stupid, I know, but like I'm telling you, this movie struck a very similar chord with me. I love that focus on kind of working class artists, as I said, and I also like that it doesn't do what you think it's going to do, because like I just knew that this was going to be a movie where they hire the singer, she's sexy as hell, climbing all over the piano, they both fall in love with her,
brother against brother.
Yeah, that's where it's going. It does not go there. Frank, played by Beau Bridges, he's kind of like the business manager. He approaches this very much like a job. Like, it has provided him a house in the suburbs where he pays his mortgage and he supports his wife and his 2 kids. That's Beau Bridges. And his younger brother Jack is like a true artiste. He's a very, very talented jazz pianist, and he has this kind of like a Chet Baker kind of character almost, where he's like this sort of lovable, tortured artist loser. Total aside, but if you haven't seen the Chet Baker documentary, watch it. It's great. The flaw with this movie for me is that I love Jeff Bridges, and I think he's a good actor. He's great as the dude. He's good in most of his other roles. In this one, I don't think that the writers give him much to sink his teeth into, because he's supposed to be this like sort of tortured artist, and the kind of like who just has kind of like a smoldering kind of charisma, and you can't, even though he's a total fuck up and kind of an asshole, you can't help but like kind of fall in love with him, which Susie does to some degree, but he just doesn't have any fucking personality. And I don't think it's the Jeff Bridges' fault, but just the writing is so, he's just kind of taciturn and dull, and it doesn't really work as that kind of tortured artist thing. But other than that, I think this is a pretty damn good movie. Again, it kind of plays against expectations, and Michelle Pfeiffer, who does her own singing in the movie quite capably, is also very good and just sexy as hell. I mean, I don't have a whole lot else to say about it, except, like I said, it has some flaws like that. Also don't like that we never see Frank's family. They're a big part of the movie. He talks about them a lot, but we never see them on camera at all. I guess they're just not kind of part of that whole world.
To bring it full circle with Lloyd, what are some of any similarities or differences between the father and sons?
I think that Beau Bridges is kind of more in the mold of his father as an actor.
Okay.
Especially in this one, he kind of has kind of an all shucks sort of thing. He's kind of a man out of time. Like, this is the late 80s, and he's very much into this very cheesy, dated, kind of like almost 1950s kind of cocktail act, and he says the same corny jokes every night. And to me, that kind of harkens back a little bit to what I think of anyway, as Lloyd Bridges. And then Jeff Bridges, at the time, now we think of him as kind of like, I think of him as the dude.
Right.
But in 1989, he was kind of the heartthrob of the two brothers.
Yep.
Younger, kind of catalog model good looks, very cut and statuesque.
Beau is rounder.
Yeah, Beau's like
the
a
face,
dad bod kind of. Yeah,
very much so.
Which
Well,
women
Jeff
dig
had,
dad bod, by the way. But
I don't know if it was his film debut, but his first notable film, of course, was The Last Picture Show, playing the heartthrob who has the affair with the married Cloris Leachman character.
Right.
Yeah.
This is Jeff.
Jeff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Very much. They're very much cast and type here, and they have good chemistry on the screen. And apparently, there's a scene where they fight, and Jeff Bridges' character, kind of gets the upper hand in the fight, and they're fighting about how Frank's just corny and is just only into the business and that kind of stuff. And Frank's like, you don't understand what it's like. I haven't had a day job my whole life, and I have a house in such and such street or whatever. And Jack, the younger one, gets his older brother down, and he grabs his finger, and he's gonna break his fucking finger because he's a piano player.
Oh, I thought you said he was going to fart.
No. But apparently, during the filming of that scene, Beau Bridges, after the filming of that scene, Beau Bridges went to the hospital thinking that Jeff had broken his damn finger because I guess they were tussling and kind of took it too far or whatever. So they have good chemistry with each other on the screen, but like Jeff Bridges' character, especially when he interacts with Michelle Pfeiffer, like I just don't buy that he's that interesting. Like, he's supposed to be, like I said, this tortured artist and all this, dripping with, like, brooding charisma, but he's just dull. And I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm a grown up now and I identify more with Frank's character. He doesn't care if he makes the scene. He's got a daytime job. He doesn't have a daytime job, but he's still doing all right.
He's doing all right.
Thank you, Joey. All right, Todd. Let's wrap up the Sheens. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The Douglases.
The Douglases, although you've previewed a little side bit there, but in any case, so we started with Kirk Douglas, and now we will go with his son from his first marriage to the actress Diana Dill, Michael Douglas. Michael Douglas, like his father, won an Academy Award for Best Actor in Michael's case for the 1987 picture Wall Street. Wall Street was directed by Oliver Stone. One of Oliver's sort of didactic essays about what he thinks of the world.
Not a guy known for subtlety.
Not
of
a guy
thought,
known
really.
for subtlety. I talked about Platoon actually a while back, and this was the follow-up to Platoon, starring also Charlie Sheen. You could argue whether or not Michael should have won Best Actor rather than Best Supporting Actor, because Charlie Sheen is actually the lead in this movie. But Michael Douglas's character, though, does become very iconic as Gordon Gekko. Gordon Gekko, who has the famous speech in the movie about greed, for lack of a better word, is good. And so it sort of sums up the 80s consumerism, Reaganism ethos. He's really good in this role as sort of the, anything goes in capitalism type character. He even admits in one of his essayistic speeches that clearly comes from Oliver that he produces nothing in the world. He just shifts money around, and that's what his job is.
I need to show this movie to my son, who is a budding capitalist pig, I think.
Yeah, no, he's going to be your Alex P.
Yeah,
Keaton,
he
I
is.
think.
He gives me James.
It might be my retirement strategy, though. So
Yeah.
He gives me James Spader vibes.
Oh God.
Spader is in Wall Street,
Yeah.
by the way, in a small part, as one of Charlie Sheen's characters, friends who gets hooked up with. But in any case, I think that one reason why I picked this movie is because I think it juxtaposes well with Ace in the Hole, in that Douglas plays sort of a cynical character, similar to the character that his father plays in Ace in the Hole. And so they both show that kind of ability to step into that sort of cutthroat character. And both of those characters, of course, have their comeuppance by the end of the movie. In this case, Michael Douglas's character takes Charlie Sheen's character under his wing to teach him how to be how to cheat the system, essentially. And the major plot turn centers around our bonus father-son element here, which is Charlie Sheen's father, Martin Sheen, plays his father in this movie, who is a union man and runs a union for an airline, who Charlie's character convinces Gordon to buy, thinking that it's insider information that will help his dad. Everyone will win. But Gordon Gekko, Michael Douglas's character, has an underhanded plan to sort of tear it all down and just kill the airline essentially for profit. Charlie Sheen's character finds this out and then goes to war with Gordon Gekko. And that's when the movie really picks up. Michael Douglas is terrific he's terrific all throughout the movie, just playing this sort of ultra, evil character, but evil in like a modern way, if that makes sense, like in a way that you can kind of recognize as sort of they don't think they're evil. They think they have sort of this more realistic ethos.
They're libertarians.
Yeah, exactly. Ayn Randian sort of people. Yeah, so the closing sort of tete-a-tete between Sheen's character and Gordon Gekko is really well done on both sides. Gekko kind of has some explosive moments that Michael Douglas does really well. He beats the shit out of Charlie Sheen's character in the park, but Sheen, though, gets the last laugh because he's wired and basically gets Gecko sent to the clink. I think this role is a good juxtaposition with the Kirk Douglas role that he played. They both do that kind of cynical. They both show their range in being able to kind of do those types of characters. Interestingly, just as a Father's Day tidbit, apparently, they weren't close for a while after Kirk divorced Michael's mom, but they reconnected and once he got into acting, and they had a kind of a sweet relationship. If you follow either of them on social media, there were always pictures of him him embracing his father. And Catherine Zeta-Jones, Michael Douglas's wife, apparently was very close with him as father-in-law. He had a close relationship with Michael's children with Catherine Zeta-Jones. And so, it was kind of a sweet relationship that they had, particularly towards the end of towards the end of his life. So, great father-son acting duo. One of the few. One of the few to have both win Best Actor Oscars. Did Lloyd win a Best Actor Oscar? I know
probably not. I will look that up while you talk.
Possibly the only duo, maybe. But in any case. Two great actors and two really good films. Wall Street has its weaknesses, but it's a good film overall.
There was a time when Michael Douglas was battling his throat cancer or mouth cancer, whatever his cancer was.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
That Kirk Douglas looked younger than Michael Douglas.
Yes.
It was remarkable.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I had never seen. I just watched I realized I'd never seen Wall Street Money Never Sleeps.
Oh, the sequel?
The sequel that's in which starring what's his name? The Carey Mulligan is in it, and then why can't I think of his name?
Vincent D'Onofrio, Vince Vaughn.
There have been several, while you're looking up, there have been several father-son Oscar winners, but never for Best Actor. Walter and John Huston both won an Oscar, supporting actor and Best Director. Carmine and Francis Ford Coppola.
Never heard of it.
Carmine was a composer who won for award for the score. So I guess that's the only acting pair.
So that's the only acting pair. Okay. Yeah. Well, Shia LaBeouf plays in Wall Street Never Sleeps. So isn't a great movie, but it's interesting in the sense that Gordon Gekko comes back, he gets out of jail, and there's a redemption arc for him. That's an up and down arc. He's coming out, pretending to be reformed, dips down because he screws his own daughter over, but then by the end he's back on the good graces of everyone, and he's shown in the last scene Gordon Gekko is at his grandson's birthday party on the roof of a Manhattan loft or whatever. But anyway,
very good.
Would you guys kick me out of the podcast if I said I'd never seen Wall Street?
No, I only recently saw it within the last 5 years.
Okay.
And it's a interesting portrait of 80s greed.
Yeah.
That's
it's kind of a time capsule.
Yeah, it really is. You see other movies like Wolf of Wall Street and what's the one that...
Wolf of Wall Street is probably my favorite of,
What's the other one with...
that kind of movie.
With what's his face from Fast and the Furious?
Oh, The Big Short's really good.
Big Short's good. No. Fast and the Furious guy, Pitch Black guy. What's his name?
It's the
why can't I think of the fucker's name? He can't act for shit. Iron Giant. He was in one of those type of pressure cooker type movies where they're like calling up people with penny stocks and short sells and that kind of thing.
Oh, Henry Connick Jr.
No.
Harry Connick Jr.
No.
Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel.
Okay.
Thank you. That's the
His name came first on the
Wow.
Wikipedia page.
That has to be the first time in history
Harry
anybody
Connick
has ever
Jr.
said
Harry Connick Jr. was not in Fast and the Furious.
Harry Connick Jr. and Vin Diesel were mistaken for each other. That's hilarious.
And
No, I didn't mistake him. He was just the first name that came up.
and
on
Giovanni
him.
Ribisi was in that as well.
Yep.
If I'm
And
not
Jennifer
mistaken.
Aniston.
Okay, yeah, that's
Cloris
another-
Leachman. Yeah,
Another
good
movie
cast.
that's kind of a progeny of Wall Street. Oh
Yeah,
God,
yeah.
my brain. All right, thank you, Todd. Okay, so I'm gonna pick up off where I left off with Jose Ferrer. We're talking about his son Miguel Ferrer. Tragically died in 2017 from throat cancer. He made it big with the movie I'm going to be talking about as Bob Morton in RoboCop, but he was also in Hot Shots Part 2.
Yep.
Arguably the better of the Hot Shots films anyway.
Yeah, well.
He was in the movie Blank Check. He was Eduardo Ruiz in Traffic. He was the vice president in Iron Man 3, for
Yep.
what that's worth. He was Agent Rosenfeld in Twin Peaks.
Wow.
He played that through the TV series, through the movie. Very established role. But where he really succeeded, I think, was probably in his television acting. He had a long stint in the TV series Crossing Jordan as Dr. Garrett Macy. That's probably like a 6-year run. And then he was assistant director Granger in NCIS Los Angeles, which was like another 6 or 7 year run TV series. So one of those kind of mainstay type actors. But
That's got to be like the primo. If you're like a TV actor and you get like a CSI,
oh
because
yeah,
you know that you are
set.
Yep.
you're set for at
yeah.
least 6 or 7 years, and you
Yeah.
probably do conventions and shit after that. You know,
Yeah.
like
You got a daytime job. You're doing all
you're doing all
right.
right.
He was also in the band Seduction of the Innocent, named after the Wortham book about the seduction of the innocent, about children's delinquency and stuff. But it was formed by Bill Mumy of Lost in Space fame.
And Twilight Zone from The Good Life.
Right. So he was in that band with Bill and a couple of other Max Allan Collins and Steve Laiola, I think, who are also comic book writer authors. And so he's very tightly tied to the comic book world through that connection as well. So interesting. He also did a lot of voice acting beyond his on-screen stuff. But we're here to talk about RoboCop from 1987, directed by Paul Verhoeven, starring Peter Weller, Nancy Allen, Kurtwood Smith, aka
Another great
Red,
great TV dad.
yeah, aka Red, yes, from that '70s show. Miguel, Robert Doquey, and Ray Wise. In a violent, near-apocalyptic Detroit, evil corporation Omni Consumer Products (OCP) wins a contract from the city government to privatize the police force. To test their crime eradicating cyborgs, the company leads street cop Alex Murphy into an armed confrontation with crime lord Boddicker, played by Kurtwood Smith, so they can use his body to support their untested RoboCop prototype. But when RoboCop learns of the company's nefarious plans, he turns on his masters. That's a adequate synopsis, I guess.
It's inadequate.
But it only scratches the surface of why this movie's fucking great.
It's
A
awesome.
classic.
Paul Verhoeven, in the face of mid-'80s Reaganomics, greed, me, somehow got this subversive movie out onto the big screen on big release.
Yep.
This movie is so snarky, so satirical, and just jabbing corporate America left and right.
And he followed it up with the almost equally as great Total Recall.
Yeah,
2 years later.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's a thing of beauty. Now, Joey, before you arrived, I was telling Todd, I saw this in the theater as a teen, and I saw it subsequently on VHS, on rental, still in my teenage years. I don't think I had actually seen RoboCop from start to finish until just like this past week. I've seen it in segments. I've seen, commentary and essays about it. But to actually sit down and watch it from start to finish, it's been ages. So for me, it was a completely new experience to see this movie with the same kind of cynicism that was intended.
Yeah.
Todd and I watched this movie together maybe last year during like one of those yearly movie challenges, and I think the category was something like 80s blockbuster that you haven't seen or don't remember seeing. And I'd seen like clips of this and I was kind of familiar with it, but I was unaware of the wholly satirical nature of it, and it is great.
Yeah,
it's fantastic. The 6000 SUX, which is the car of choice, the 6000 sucks, with its 8.2 miles per gallon gas mileage, which at the time in America, gas mileage was not really in the discussion, at least not in the mid 80s.
right.
And so Verhoeven obviously brings his sensibilities to this story by pointing this out. Today it plays great. We're like, yeah, like the idiots who bought the fucking Hummer, getting their 12 miles per gallon or whatever that those things got.
Right.
Ludicrous. And the nuclear war board game that the family plays in one of the fake commercials. Just chef's kiss quality satire embedded in this movie. And then, of course, I guess now I should circle back to Miguel Ferrar's character. He is the progenitor of RoboCop. He works for OCP. He is the young up-and-coming executive. And his boss is the older old guard, and he's the one who's trying to roll out the Ed 209. That's the very much robotic, hulking beast of a thing where they have the monumental disaster of demonstrating it at the board meeting, and he shoots a guy right there at the board meeting in a complete malfunction. Of course, Miguel Ferrar seizes the opportunity to roll out his RoboCop campaign and his concept, and the president really buys into it because they need a win, obviously, because this Ed 209 is not it.
Yeah.
But as the synopsis mentions, it was kind of engineered to get Weller's character Murphy to die so they could use his flesh for this. So there are all of these great shots with Miguel from the opening of RoboCop's eyes. You've got him like in this fisheye lens kind of being his voice, the first thing he sees in his new awareness. And he's just doing his job. I'm not going to try to defend his character because he was kind of self-serving, but he was doing his job. He was trying to get a product out to launch, and he kind of, they rushed it just as much as they were trying to rush the Ed 209. Unfortunately, Miguel's character bites it about halfway through the movie when Red comes and kills him when he's hooking up with two ladies.
Is this the scene where Kurtwood Smith, there's a coke-fueled orgy? Yeah, and then Kurtwood Smith delivers the classic line, "Bitches leave."
Yes, yes, that's exactly it. And and it's funny because in watching it, I remember as a teen, the whole concept of hiring two ladies was pretty scandalous. And then, of course, by today's standards, it's just like, okay, yeah, he got two chicks. I mean, of course he did. He's a rich executive with drugs. Yeah. But yes, unfortunately, he does die. But I want to say, without Miguel Ferrar, there is no RoboCop. He is the guy who birthed that whole concept. Yep. So we have him to thank for the whole movie. But
and the sequel.
One thing I want to mention about Verhoeven, though, you mentioned how it was kind of crazy that he was able to make this into a blockbuster with all the satire in it that you would think that. But Rod Serling, the great Rod Serling, kind of hinted probably at why he was able to do that when he did The Twilight Zone, because Serling's early work was pretty much straightforward, realistic drama, and he said the reason why that he went into the sci-fi genre angle was because you could slip all the commentary past the censors because they're idiots. Yeah. Basically.
And that's true because
that's what happened with High Noon, the movie I was talking about earlier too. You couldn't make a movie about McCarthyism during the McCarthyism era, so you had to hide it within layers of allegory.
And of course, RoboCop was seen as just another action film. This came out in league with all of the Stallone films, all the Schwarzenegger movies. So it was right there under the radar. Right. But I wanted to mention that this movie, as subversive as it was, just as a testament to how under the radar that was, you had the RoboCop Nintendo game. You had the RoboCop Saturday morning cartoon show.
Whoa, I didn't know that existed.
Or is like an afternoon syndication. But
I vaguely remember the RoboCop cartoon.
Yeah, there was a kids cartoon. There were toys. I mean, there was so much that was marketed to an inappropriate audience, given what the movie is actually about. So it really was kind of irony on top of irony. The fact that this made it to mass, and then it made it into kids' toy boxes and on their televisions.
That's crazy.
So anyway, I can't. I can gush about RoboCop all day long. It's just a great film. But anyway, Miguel Ferrer, great in this movie. It was the one that kind of put him on the map as an actor. In terms of looking at he and his father together, I think that they resemble each other tremendously. Their accents and voices are very similar. And it's a shame that Miguel died as young as he did, because I think that he could have put out even more stuff, much like his father. So anyway, that's my father-son combo. Anybody have any plugs? Are you working on anything, Joey?
I'll hold on to that till next time.
Okay, Todd. Anything?
If you are a Titanic nerd, as I am, there are 2 great documentaries about the implosion of the ship that just came out.
Oh, you're talking about the ship. I was just thought you were saying you were a big nerd. You are a Titanic nerd.
Oh, yes. So the Titan nerd is, or the Titan that imploded trying to go to the Titan. 2 documentaries. One you can find. It originally aired on ID, but it's on Max. There's one there.
There's one
and then
on Netflix,
there's one on
right?
Netflix that just came out, and they both complement each other well. I was wondering, are they going to cover the same ground? But they really don't. The Netflix one actually has a lot more primary footage that was actually shot by the Titan, people that work for Titan and that kind of thing, whereas the ID one gives more of an overview, so they both complement each other well. But if you're into that kind of thing, it's pretty fascinating. Okay. The Stockton Rush, who was the CEO of Ocean Gate that did the Titan, it's kind of a cautionary tale in the Elon Musk vein. Not listening to other people, kind of ignoring experts because you're the genius type thing. So
you watched them both, huh? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
We've got an episode coming up in a couple of weeks. It's inspired by this whole roll it, review it kind of thing, this roll for this, roll for that on social media. We're going to do a roll it, review it episode. We've already pre-rolled. We're going to release a mini-sode in a week that will tell you what we're watching in case you want to watch along. And boy, we got some doozies. So that's in a couple of weeks that we'll give our final reviews of these films that we were randomly assigned, that the fates decided for us. In the meantime, please rate, review, subscribe. Check us out on social media. We are Cinema Chop Shop everywhere except for YouTube and Blue Sky. We're Cinema Chop Shop Podcast there. Please remember to love your family, love your neighbors, tell people you love them, do kind things for total strangers. And in the meantime, please remember to watch, chop, retrofit.